Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is Role of Dominant Caste in Electoral Politics of India. Now my lesson plan includes definition of dominant caste, determinants of dominance, dominant caste at the state level, caste composition in UP, caste composition of Tamil Nadu, role of dominant caste in India, changes in dominant castes, rivalries and conflict between dominant castes, limitations of dominant caste, and finally conclusion. Friends, I hope that this lecture will very much benefit you, and as you know that along with joint family system and village system, caste system is an important element of Hindu society in India. So it is very necessary to understand the mechanism of caste, and one of the important component of caste is dominant caste, because these dominant caste control the Hindu society in different parts of country. So now I will take up one by one under these points. I hope that you will enjoy. Please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy Indore. This is a free channel and you will get numerous videos on YouTube and my Facebook page AJIS Academy Indore. So let us start the proceedings. Friends, definition of dominant caste. A caste is dominant when it preponderates numerically than the others. Number one, it should be numerically stronger than other caste in the particular area. Secondly, it should enjoy political and economic power in that particular area. Thirdly, it should have or it should enjoy the high ritual status in the society. These are the three ingredients that is important for becoming a dominant caste in a particular area, according to the great sociologist of India, M.N. Srinivas. Now, this is the structure, and this graph will show you that a structure of caste is pyramidal. On the top is Brahmins or priest, then below Kshatriyas, warrior class, Vaisyas, merchants and landowners, and below Sudras, servants subordinate to Vaisyas, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, basically agriculturists or laborers. And at the bottom of this caste hierarchy is untouchables, who had been doing manual works like sweeper, like latrine cleaners, or those whose houses are to be found at the outskirts of a particular Hindu village. So these three upper caste, Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya, they are called twice born. Why? Because in addition to the birth, they also perform Yajnaopavit Sanskar, sacred thread ceremony. They had to undergo sacred thread ceremony, and that's why they are called, these three caste or burn are called twice born caste or burn in our Hindu society. Friends, as you know that what is caste? Caste is a endogamous group. I am talking here only in terms of the traditional definition of caste. Now lots of changes have occurred after independence in the character of caste. So I am just sticking to the traditional definition of caste. Number one, it is endogamous group. It means that a caste man cannot marry outside his caste, particularly For example, Brahmins, a Brahmin boy or girl can't marry outside their caste. So this is endogamous group. Secondly, the membership of a caste is determined by birth. The status of a person is determined by the caste in which he was born. So what is he? That a person, if he is born in Brahmin caste, his status will be higher than that of the person of other caste like Kshatriyas, Vaishya or Sudras. So the status is also determined by birth. And finally, there is caste presupposes a hierarchical structure, where at the top Brahmins are at the highest of the ladder of the caste system, and they have been bestowed with certain privileges, certain immunities, while at the bottom untouchables or Sudras, they have to suffer certain disabilities in society. So caste system presupposes a kind of discrimination, and that's why our constitution completely ban any type of discrimination out of the caste affiliation, because it is caste system is antithesis to the concept of equality among people. So now switching over to another point, that is called dominant caste. What are the important ingredients of dominant caste? And this concept of dominant caste was invented by M.N. Srinivas, the great sociologist of India. And according to him, there are certain characteristics that should be taken into account while defining dominant caste in a particular area. Number one, that caste should own a sizable amount of land. Secondly, it should have a strength of numbers, preponderance of numbers. It should occupy high place in the ritual hierarchy. It should enjoy greater political and economic power. So these three important ingredients were given by M.N. Srinivas while describing the definition of dominant caste. Now, with the passage of time, we can also include it should have a number of educated person found in the caste. For example, Minas in Rajasthan, on account of reservation policy of Government of India. These Minas, although they are tribals, they cornered maximum benefit from reservation policy of Government of India and state government, with the result that Minas have become a very much dominant tribe or caste in Rajasthan, because most of the important higher posts have been cornered by Minas. Now, high occupation pursued by the caste, for example, those caste whose members occupied high echelon of power or political power or educational power. So this factor also determines the dominance of a particular caste. Now, Western education, again job in the administration, urban sources of income are all significant factor for the dominance and prestige of a particular caste in a certain locality. there may be more than dominant caste. Again, there may be more than one dominant caste in a village or in a locality. And so what happens that there is always a rivalry between two dominant castes and different element of dominance distributed differently among different castes in a village. And again, there may be a point when certain dominant caste give way to another dominant caste in matters relating to politics, in matters relating to economic and social life. Now, dominance is not a purely local phenomena. Friends, as you know that it may be possible that there are 2 or 4 families, Brahmin families residing in a village. But since that Brahmin family had good network in the locality, and in that locality Brahmins are a very predominant force, predominant people enjoying lots of political and economic power. So in spite of lesser numerical number in a particular village, on account of the wider network among Brahmins, these 2-3 Brahmin families may enjoy a status of dominant caste in a particular village. So what you see that it is not totally a local phenomena. It may extend to the particular area, the region where a caste can enjoy the dominance. Friends, as you know that the dominance always presupposes a kind of rivalry, a kind of high and low. So when a caste becomes dominant, it always tries to suppress other caste, and this is one of the minus point of the dominant caste. Secondly, with the weakening of the Jajmani system in our country, now the interdependence of caste has also become weak. So, but with the introduction of Panchayati Raj system, adult suffrage, reservation policy, while the vertical solidarity of caste has become weaker, the horizontal solidarity on account of these facilities available after the adoption of our constitution, like adult suffrage or reservation or Panchayati Raj system, the horizontal solidarity of caste has become more and more stronger. So now caste also act as a block to corner maximum political offices. Now, dominant caste at the state level. Friends, as you know that different dominant castes are found at different provincial level and which influence the socio-economic and political life of the people. As you know that India is made of different provinces and the social structure of every state is quite different from others. So every state has certain dominant caste and there is always rivalry, and that rivalry also manifests itself in political rivalry. So what you see that in Karnataka there are 2 dominant castes. Number 1, Lingayat, although it is a socio-religious group, not caste in the strict sense of the term, because it is Lingayat came out of the religious movement, and now more than 100 castes are affiliated to Lingayat because they worship Linga, and that's why they are called Lingayat, and followers of Basava Chinna, and they are found in northern part of the Karnataka. And similarly Okalinga Okalinga, they are agriculturists and found in the western part of or Mysore region in abundance. So what you see, there is a clash of interest between both kind of dominant caste, Lingayat and Okalinga. Now Lingayat is being supported by BJP or Okalinga is supported by Congress party or JDS. So again, in the undivided Andhra Pradesh, what you see that there are two important dominant caste. One is Reddy and second is Kamma. While Chandrababu Naidu and earlier his father-in-law N.T. Rama Rao, he belonged to Kamma caste, and Reddys are or were predominantly within Congress fold. And now when the YSR Congress was made in 2011, they all Reddys switched over to YSR Congress, with the result that now YSR Congress is ruling over the divided Andhra Pradesh. Now Kamma and Reddys, they have become two important dominant caste group, and they are aligned with two opposing political parties in Andhra Pradesh. Reddys are affiliated to YSR Congress and Kammas are affiliated to Chandrababu Naidu. Now Kerala, similarly in Kerala there are two important caste, dominant caste, Nayars and Ijwas. Similarly Tamil Nadu, Gondar, Padiyachi and Mudaliyars. These three important castes are dominant and they snatch power among themselves. Similarly in Maharashtra, Marathas, Brahmins, Mahars are scheduled caste. So these three important dominant castes always struggle to snatch power in Maharashtra. In UP, we see that Yadav in middle and eastern UP, Jats in western UP, Jatavs in the whole UP, Kurmis, Rajputs, Brahmins in the central UP. So these important castes jostle one another for getting power. Similarly, in Bihar, Yadav, Kurmi, Brahmins, Rajput, they fight among themselves and now they have been aligned with different parties. For example, RJD, Rashtriya Janata Dal, led by Lalu Yadav. It is a party of Yadavas, and Yadavs votes predominantly to RJD since its inception in 1990s. Again, Kurmis, this OBC caste votes for the incumbent Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. Predominantly, Brahmins are completely aligned with BJP. Rajputs, they are also aligned with BJP. Earlier, before 1990s, Brahmins were completely aligned with Congress party. Now they have switched over to BJP in the wake of the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute. So these are certain examples that I have cited, that how different states have different dominant caste and how they jostle power by aligning with different political parties. And this is called now social engineering. So if a party fails in social engineering, that party can't be catapulted into power. This is now has become the prerequisite to gaining power in a state, and if a particular party fails to make social engineering, then it has least chances to capture power in that province. Now I come to the caste composition in UP. Now Uttar Pradesh, you see that caste composition is like that: general caste, or it may be called forward caste, like Brahmin, Rajput or Kshatriya, or caste or Baniyas. They are called general caste and they constitute 25% of the population, while Muslims constitute 16%, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, they constitute 20%, OBCs 39%. So this is the caste composition of UP. Now, among the general caste, Brahmins constitute 10%, Thakurs, Rajput, they are 7%, Vaisyas 5%, others 3%. Among OBCs, the breakup will be Yadavas 7%, Maurjas 5%, Kurmi 5%, Nisat 5%, Lodhi 2%, Jats 2%, others 13%. Among scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, Jatavs 10%, Pasi 4%, others 6%. Regions where particular community dominant. This is the most important thing as far as the caste-wise analysis of a particular region is concerned. Now you see that in Western UP, Muslims 29%, Jatavs 12%. Here in Western UP, there is a preponderance of Muslims. And Jatav 12%. East UP, Yadav 10%, Kurmis 8%. And Central UP, what is it? This is marked by yellow color. And here you find that more than 13% Brahmins are residing in these areas covered under yellow color. So you see that in Western UP, with the combination of Jat and Muslims, the late Prime Minister Charan Singh dominated Western Europe for 25 years, and his entire politics depended upon the dominance of Muslim, Jats, Jatav in this territory, in these areas. So this is the caste composition of UP. Friends, as you know, among the general caste, they are the largest supporter of BJP. Now OBCs formed by Yadav, SP, Samajwadi Party, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, scheduled caste, BSP, Bahujan Samaj Party. Muslims, they are predominantly in the camp of Samajwadi Party. Now in this election of 2022 UP general election, what you find? That apart from the traditional voters for certain political parties, now among scheduled caste, there is a Jatav and non-Jatav. Now 50% of the population of scheduled caste is made of Jatav caste, and Jatavs still supported Mayawati I mean Bahujana Samaj Party, when this party won only one seat in this election. But Mayawati got 12.9% vote, and these votes are from Jatav, but non-Jatav switched over to BJP. And now what is see that Muslims completely sided with Samajwadi Party, and earlier in earlier election there has been something division of Muslim votes among Congress, Bahujana Samaj Party and Samajwadi Party. But now in this election what we find that almost entire votes of Muslim went to Samajwadi Party. Now this election was a bipolar election where entire Muslims voted for Samajwadi Party, and general caste, I mean forward caste led by Brahmins, completely voted for BJP. The certain Brahmins who voted for Congress, or certain Muslims, even 15 to 20% Muslims voted for traditionally for Congress, they switched side to Samajwadi Party, while the forward caste completely went into the camp of BJP. So this election was a bipolar election where there was a completely caste divide in UP. Friends, I am citing the caste conundrum of UP because UP is the biggest state in terms of population in India. It is originally Aryavart. So it is because whichever party dominates UP, that party rules over Delhi. So it is necessary to understand the caste mechanism of UP. Now what you see, that dominant caste of Brahmins, Rajputs, Vaishya, even certain non-OBC, non-Yadavas like Maurj, Kurmi, Lodhi, Jats, they all voted for BJP, and that's why BJP got 255 seats out of 403 seats in UP Assembly. So now the representation of BJP in UP is completely diversified. Why it happened? What is its implication? That I will later tell you. Next. Now the caste composition of Tamil Nadu. Friends, as you know that there are two important parties in Tamil Nadu. DMK, Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam, led by late Karunanidhi, and now his son Stalin, and AIDMK, that was led by Ramchandran and later Jayalalitha. So both parties jostled for power for the last 50 years, since 1969. Other parties have marginal presence in Tamil Nadu, and both the parties are based upon anti-Brahmanism. Now, what you see, 25% are Baniyars, 10% Mukul, Thor, non-Tamils 8%, Muslims 6%, Sulka, Sulta 21%, Konar 5%, Muthar, Riyar 3%, Pillai 5%, Chettiar 1.5%, Brahmins 2%, Hindu Nadars 4.50%, Belal Grounder 7%, Hindu Nadars 7%. So what you see that as per 2011 census, scheduled caste constitute 20% of Tamil Nadu's 72 million population. 1.10% of the population belong to scheduled tribe and other backward classes form 68% of Tamil Nadu. So there is a bulk of the population of other backward classes who form 68% of the population in Tamil Nadu. So this is the situation, caste situation. And friends, as you know that for the last 50 years, these anti-Brahmin parties like DMK and AIDMK have been ruling one by one state of Tamil Nadu. Because of the caste composition, because of the dominance of these castes. Now I switch over to another point, and that is more important point, role of dominant caste in India. Friends, what are the roles assigned to dominant caste in India? Number one, a vehicle for Sanskritization process. What is Sanskritization? It means that the lower caste aspire to reach the ladder of higher caste by imitating their lifestyle, their food habits, their living, their houses, their ideology. All these factors gives inner mobility. Inner mobility within the caste, and that's why what you see that it is wrong to say, it is misnomer that caste is a static society. It is completely a closed group. No. Caste has also internal dynamics, and that internal dynamics are manifested by the process of sensitization, whereby lower caste imitates the lifestyle, culture, ideology of upper caste, and thereby they go to the higher ladder in the caste hierarchy. And there are hundreds and hundreds of examples in India, in Indian history, whereby the lower caste achieved higher status, higher caste status in Hindu society. And so, a model of Sanskritization, number one. Number two, watchdog of a pluralistic culture and value system. Now, one of the important role of dominant caste is to keep its value system intact, and those who deviate from the Hindu value system, they are punished. For example, in traditional caste system, certain castes have been given certain occupational job, and they can't deviate from that traditional job. Like a goldsmith, he has been given job of making ornaments of gold, and the goldsmith can't deviate from their duty, and any deviation of a caste from its assigned duty are taken to task by dominant caste. Now, role of dominant caste in political life. Friends, as you know that dominant caste have been playing an important political role in our country, and with the introduction of adult suffrage, Panchayati Raj system, the policy of reservation, all these factors combined together made dominant caste important to play an important role in the political life of a particular province. And I have already narrated as to how Vokalinga and Lingayat fight with one another to capture power of Karnataka for the last 70 years. And that's why these dominant caste align with diametrically opposite parties. For example, Lingayats are aligned to BJP, while Vokalingas are aligned to Congress party in large number, and some are also aligned with JDS. Now, how they fared over 3 decades? This is the chart that will show you that from 1989 to 2019, caste and community representation in Lok Sabha. So friends, you see that upper caste in 1989, they were represented by 86 MPs in Lok Sabha, while in 2018, it was 88. No change at all. Intermediate caste in 1989, 19, and in 2019, 14. OBC, 46 in 1989, while in 2019, 53. There is some increase. Scheduled caste, 41 in 1989, while 41 in 2019. While scheduled tribe, 18 in 1989, and it went to 18, same. There was no change in the representation of scheduled tribe for the last 30 years. Similarly, Muslims, 14 MPs were represented in 1989 election in Lok Sabha, and now 9 in 2019. Why? Because of the complete polarization of Lok Sabha election on religious lines, and that's why Muslims had disadvantageous representation in Lok Sabha. So you see, except Muslims, what you see, that more or less the representation of upper caste, intermediate caste, OBC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe have been same, with certain deviation, like OBC, where OBC got major change from 46 to 53 in 2019. Why? Because of the reservation policy for OBC, because of the Mandal policy adopted since 1991. Now, among the representation of different caste, what you see, that in upper caste, BJP got 50.8% vote. Now it came down to 44.9, 45% in 2019 general election, while for for OBC it was 15.9% in 1989 and went to 19.97%. Now for Indian National Congress, for upper caste, it was 41.2%, and now in 2019, it came down to 16.7%. So what you see, that with the passage of time, upper caste are rallying behind BJP. They have left Congress, although they had been the traditional voters since independence. But now, upper caste have completely sided with BJP, and that's why, in addition to the support of upper caste, another point of importance is that BJP penetrated also into the votes of non-Yadav OBC, with the result that now the representation in BJP has become more and more diversified. Now, percentage who voted for BJP UP 2019 Lok Sabha election. This is a graph. You will show that Brahmins, 82% Brahmins voted for BJP, Baniyas 70%, Yadvas 23%, Kurmi 80%, and others 72%. So what you see that except Yadvas, even among OBC, the major chunk of votes were cornered by BJP. So now what you see that BJP has become a mass party, excluding the representation of Muslims. And BJP has done this deliberately in order to polarize votes on religious lines. Now, changes in dominant caste. What are the changes that had occurred since independence? Now, I have already told you that because of the introduction of reservation policy or adult suffrage or Panchayati Raj system, we see that a lot of changes have occurred in the concept of dominant caste. And now what you see that a study conducted in the village in the vicinity of Kanpur, it showed that now a caste is dominant which is economically powerful. So since in that village Brahmins are relatively poor, they are at the 5th scale. So Brahmins, although they belong to actually a higher caste, the upper caste, now in terms of dominance, Brahmins are relegated to 5th position. So what you see that with the passage of time, it is economic power that determines the dominance of a caste in a particular area. Now a study conducted on the Jats of Rampura in the vicinity of Delhi, it showed that Jats control Brahmins as they control means of production. And as you know that since although Jats are Sudras, in traditional term if you see and categorize Jats, they are Sudras. Now because of the politicalization, we see now Jats in western UP, they have become a dominant force because maximum lands or means of production, other means of productions are under the control of Jats, with the result that they can even control Brahmins in their localities. So, except ritual or worshipping of God, in other matters, other mundane matters, Jats are supreme dominant force in western UP. Now earlier they were part of the Lokdal headed by the late Prime Minister Charan Singh. Now they have preponderantly support BJP, with the result that BJP has become now a powerful force in western UP, in spite of the presence of large chunk of Muslim population in those areas. Now, rivalries and conflict between dominant caste. Friends, as you know that dominant caste always fight against one another in a particular area for its supremacy, for cornering political power. And that's why we see that different states are divided into different dominant castes. And I have cited so many examples of UP, Bihar, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. These dominant castes basically fight election in the name of political parties. In India, basically it is caste that fight election by making group or by aligning with other caste under the garb of a political party. So political parties in India is nothing but a conglomeration of different caste group, and this is now called social engineering by different political parties. Those parties which make social engineering better, they have better chance to get power. So upper caste and Yadavas fight one another in Bihar for last 30 years. Conflict between non-Brahmin dominant backward classes and Harijan in rural areas are a recurring feature in rural India. Limitation of dominant caste. Friends, what are the limitations? Number one, the BJP forces dominant caste to moderate their posture to aggregate weaker sections. And because of its policy of polarization on religious lines, BJP has forced dominant caste to moderate their position vis-a-vis weaker sections, and with the result that a weaker section of society, those non-intimidating castes, aggregated to fight against the dominant caste by aligning with the support of BJP. And that's why we see that in Haryana, which is dominated by Jats since its inception in 1966, now the weaker caste, the non-intimidating caste, they all aggregated to fight against the dominance of Jats, with the result that BJP made a chief minister who is a non-Jat, Manohar Lal Khattar. He is a Khatri by caste, and its population is very much minuscule in Haryana. Now, mobilization of resentment against two traditional dominant castes, the Jats and Marathas, in Haryana and Maharashtra respectively. And that's why we see that in Maharashtra, BJP made Devendra Fadnavis as chief minister, who is a Brahmin. And now, since Maharashtra was made by bifurcating Bombay province, Marathas were a dominant force in Maharashtra politics. Now, BJP aggregated all the other non-Marathas against the dominance of Marathas and made its chief minister a Brahmin, Devendra Fadnavis. And this Brahmin caste is very much minuscule in Maharashtra, in the population of Maharashtra. Similarly, decimation of Patel in Gujarat. So what you see that the Hindutva ideology aggregated all other non-intimidating or weaker caste to align under the Hindu ideology to fight against the dominance of particular caste in a particular province, with the result that BJP expanded its base among all sections of people. And that's why we see that earlier OBCs completely voted for Samajwadi Party. Now, except Yadav, other OBCs vote predominantly for BJP. So this is the situation that is being reflected throughout India. Again, the marginalization of dominant caste like Marathas, Jats and Patel led demands for reservation in government job. Autonomous caste family fiefdoms of Patel, Marathas, Jats, Yadav, Jatavs are being dismantled by popular politics and state mercenaries. Religious polarization further weakened the hold of dominant caste politics. So, conclusion. For political purposes, castes are divided into following categories. General categories, forward caste, it constitutes 30.8% is the population. Other backward classes constitute 41% of the population. Scheduled caste 19.7%. Scheduled tribe 8.5% of the population, Indian Muslims 14.2% and Christians 2.3%. This is the basic caste division of Indian society. Now, no dominant caste are so much numerically preponderant that they can make government on their own. So what you see, that different dominant caste had to align with lesser caste in that province to make them winnable conglomeration. And everybody knows that if a candidate gets more than 40% of votes, it has the more chances to get elected. And that's why what you see, that dominant caste align with other lesser caste to make their grouping stronger, electorally viable, so that they can capture power in that province. The political parties jostle with one another to win away dominant caste in their camp. The influence of dominant caste is visible in all areas of political and social and economic life of a province. It exercises its power in every field of life, but because of the religious polarization, the dominant caste lost most of its influence and power in the society. During the wave of a particular party on account of the failure of governance or non-delivery or high-level corruption or inflationary economy where the life of people have become very much miserable. So, if the wave are taking place in favor of a particular party, the role of dominant caste becomes lesser. For example, in the general election of 2014 election, whereby BJP won with the thumping majority, it got 282 seats in the last 30 years. The BJP was the first party to get majority seats in Lok Sabha. And this happened because of the wave against Congress for its high-level corruption or alleged high-level corruption. So people perceive that Congress is a corrupt party, and that's why people voted in masse for BJP. So, and similarly in 2019 election, BJP got thumping majority of 303 seats in Lok Sabha. So you see that whenever a wave occurs in favor of a particular party, the role, although there are certain roles for political dominant caste, but its importance, its higher role becomes lesser, because non-dominant, dominant, all kind of people, all kind of caste people vote for a particular party because they want that the incumbent government must go. So friends, now I am winding up my lecture. I hope that you might have enjoyed this one. If you like my lecture, please share and subscribe my channel. This is free channel on YouTube, and my page on Facebook, AJ IAS Academy Indore. Thank you very much.